wonderful, iconic lineup of
Hello! Oh no. Hello!
You gave me the countdown and then looked really unsure, so I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do.
See, the problem is, like, I've got it down to a science, all the stuff I need to turn on and off. But when you've got three 3 monitors going, sometimes you can't get your mouse to the one that you need to turn stuff off, which is why I need to use my Stream Deck.
You know, I don't want to hear any of this nonsense because you were the one that was also like, no, 2 monitors isn't enough. I have to have 3.
Well, once you get going, it is, yeah, it's exactly what I need. But anyway, I'll figure it all out. We're going to get it.
Story.
It's smooth.
A likely story.
So we are, as I think some of you have probably noticed, we are streaming in 2 places today. I have the chat up, but the chat is only showing Twitch, I think, because it's a Twitch chat box. So we're gonna monitor the YouTube too. So don't feel like if you say something we're not gonna notice. It just, we're kind of looking at 2 different places. So yeah, did you guys enjoy that? My rave music. I was like, we need a dance party.
Yeah, you were certainly enjoying it on the back end. And now that we have learned a super simple way to be recording our screens all the time.
You were, of course, recording your screen.
Let me be clear. I'm now going to record everything. Absolutely everything.
Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I'm always an idiot on this channel, so it's fine. What else was I gonna say? I'm completely blanking.
I mean, happy Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday.
It's a Monday. This is one of the Mondayest Mondays I've ever had in 2025.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling like it.
It's a super busy Monday.
And it looks like everybody's here. So the gang's all here. Hi, guys. Molly! Thank you so much for your patience, my dear. We've been working on a project.
Perseverance.
Yeah, we've been working on a project. We finally got it squared away this morning. Thank goodness to Molly and Tara. So we're in good shape. Tish, Janet. Oh, sneaky Sunday is in here. Like, I think in 2 different places. We always appreciate you being here. Of course, Druid, my dear. Robin. Yeah, I think people are bouncing around. Modard, hey, Mardim. Yeah, so I think some people are in both places, which is all good. It's good for it's good for the algorithm.
Get those views up in all the places.
Yeah. So
I promise I'm not crying. I promise I'm not crying. I am very cold in this basement because did I come down here early and turn the space heaters on before? No, I did not.
Why would you have done something like that?
Who does stuff like that? So it's very chilly down here. So if you see me acting ridiculous and cold, I am ridiculous and cold. So yeah, but we're gonna do fun things, which is great because there's a lot of work things going on.
Yeah. And last week when we I said, are you coming for Am I the A-hole? And you're like, yeah. And I started thinking, I was like, this week is kind of nuts because we've got winter seminar coming up, and just personally, I have a whole bunch of stuff that's come up this week, which I don't want to forget. I'll remind me again to mention this at the end. But I will not be streaming on Thursday. So no CakeTV on Thursday. Nothing's wrong. It ended up having things on either side of the stream, and then they started creeping towards each other, and I was like, things will get a little bit hairy if I try to jump from there to a stream to the next thing, and I don't want to do that to myself, and of course I don't want to shortchange you guys. So so this week, and then today, and then you won't see me beyond Quilt Nerding until next Monday. So
unless you happen to be doing virtual winter seminar stuff this weekend, and then we'll be all over that.
Yeah. So if you are attending virtual winter seminar with AQSG, you will see me there. I'm helping host and monitor some of the study centers. I'm not doing one this year, so yeah, it's fun to be behind the scenes and not on camera.
Well, you do have one available on demand.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to see your sunbonnet too.
Yep.
That is available. And then we have our social media training, which I don't really think anyone in here really needs that. It's for really green people that really aren't comfortable at all. But Yeah, they can see you if they want to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to do like a whole bunch of announcements. Like, why don't we just jump into the fun?
Do you want, I was gonna say, do you want me to unbox first, or would you rather?
Well, I'm going to keep an eye on the time. I think we should do Am I the A-hole first?
Okay.
And then you could
Because
do
I
your
mean,
unboxing.
the likelihood that you are the asshole is high.
Oh, I'm always the a-hole. All right, so let me pull up this information. So, we haven't done this segment in a while. It's always fun to do with other people. I want to say maybe the last time I did it, I can't remember if it was with you or Mary, or maybe I did it by myself. In any event, I always feel like it's more fun for the reactions, to see the facial reaction. I have a couple that are, I have one or two that are pretty like, so if this is your first time with Am I the A-hole? This is something that comes out of Reddit. And if you're not familiar with Reddit, it's basically like a crowdsourced forum sort of thing. If there's any topic you've ever wanted to know about, or know what people are saying, go to Reddit. But don't go to Reddit, because you'll be sucked in. There's fun things on Reddit. There's really cool stuff on Reddit. There's also horrible things on Reddit. So it's just one of those things. A friend of mine told me the other day that he had the flu, and he was checking like in his area what else was happening, and he's like, yeah, so all these people in this area where I live all have flu number 2 or whatever, and he's like, here are all the symptoms, and I was like, you're getting your like epidemiological data from Reddit. And he's like, yeah. So anyway, there's things like that. But also, yeah, Reddit scares you, Molly. Yeah. The thing is, like, you can go in there and read stuff. Like, just don't put yourself out there on Reddit, because... Anyway, there is a thing on Reddit called Am I the A-hole? And there are also ones called Am I the devil? Need to get this off my chest. They're all kind of the same thing. And it's basically, here's the scenario I'm in, and here's how I responded. Am I the a-hole? And most of the time I read these and I'm just like, no, you are not. Everybody in your orbit is. And then sometimes you read these and you're like, yeah, you're pretty much you're a butthole, like a total butthole. So I like to find the crafty ones. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at today.
I feel like these arose too because if you're not fortunate enough to have a friend in your life that will tell you when you're the one who's in the wrong, that's where people were finally like, you know what? I can ask the public.
Yes. And
I don't have a friend that's going to tell me.
And Reddit is so full of anonymous people who will give you, like, from their heart, give you advice or, their perspective. They will also call you names and all sorts of horrible stuff. So, you run that risk. But sometimes people really do give really good advice, and they will say things that the person will be like, oh, damn, I wasn't, I didn't realize that. So, sometimes it really does result in a good thing. And, sometimes, I'll be honest, some of the stories on Reddit I think are made up. I think people make them up just for fun. I mean, that happens.
I mean, I think that happens everywhere. Definitely not just Reddit. I mean, Facebook photo posts of like, look how perfect and wonderful, I'm always just like, okay.
Yeah. And the Am I the A-hole post I love the most, and these are very rare, they're few and far between, but when it happens, it is so glorious. When somebody posts, they were like, this thing happened and this person, and it's my family member, my friend, blah, 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 and everybody will be like, oh my gosh, of course, how terrible for you, this, how could this person do this to you, da da da. And then like a day later, the person that they were complaining about pops in, like recognizes the story on Reddit and pops in and is like, let me tell you the real story. And then you're like, oh, that is some information I did not have when it was originally posted. Mm-hmm. The person who originally posted is called the OP, or original poster. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, again, 99.9% of the time, these things are anonymous. People make up names. So, the worst ones are the ones that are made up and aren't entertaining. Yeah. So, yeah, I read one the other day. I was just like, if this isn't made up, this person just is not. They're using air that the rest of us could be breathing. Like how do you get to adulthood with being this kind of person? Anyway, So I have a real doozy for the first one, and I'm just like,
oh, you're gonna come out. You're gonna come out swinging, huh?
I am coming out swinging. And then I have a couple of others that hopefully, one of these sounded so familiar, but it said it was only like 2 months old. So it's got to be one that I haven't read before. And then I have a couple of ones that are just art related that I thought were one that's very funny. That's really only related to quilting in that it involves a blanket, but I've left it in because I thought you would enjoy it. So hopefully we'll get to that one. All right, so let's get started. So this first one, I will tell you off the bat, the community deemed this person not the a-hole. And I agree. I will tell you off the bat, I agree. But this one is so gross. All right.
Gross?
It's gross.
Yay. So,
here's the title. And the best part are when people truly, hey, Word and Bird, long time no see. So, the best ones are when people they'll put the title, like the subject line, and you're like, what? So this subject line, am I the a-hole because I cut up the used baby blankets I put in the trash?
Okay.
So, about a year ago, my elderly neighbor, and she's assigned some names, so Jessica, 80 years old female, started going through our trash and salvaging items that she deemed to be usable. She will cut open bags and leave a horrible mess. We tried to install locks, but we went on vacation for 10 days and we came back to the locks cut off and dumped in our recycling. Recently, my 19-year-old cat, Bobo, poor Bobo, stopped using the litter box. And I've actually edited these down because some of these are really long. But essentially, what's happening is Bobo's having kidney issues. And I actually had this with my own cat that we ended up having to put him to sleep, but because of this horrible thing. So I understand what is happening with this person. So Bobo stopped using the litter box. We have an enclosed patio where Bobo has decided to go potty, and his pee is like acid because of his kidney issues, and it eroded some of the wood. We tried to use puppy pads, but Bobo hates those. If you have a cat, you know. To solve this issue, we bought some 100% cotton baby blankets in bulk. She says biodegradable, like, okay, yeah, all right, that's another story, sis, but we'll move on from there. And we throw them out after they are horribly soaked in pee. We tried washing the blankets, but my cat is going through kidney failure, so his pee is extremely rank. Yes. And the blankets stay stinky forever and stink up our washer dryer. So into the trash they went. Well, guess what goes missing every garbage day? Our disgusting kidney failure soaked cat pee unwashable blankets. I was so horrified for Jessica, I decided to cut the blankets into pieces so they can't be used again. Then the other day, her daughter, Jamie, 55-year-old woman, came over and yelled at me for cutting the blankets, that her mother is cold and wanted to make a quilt out of them. I was absolutely disgusted by this, but I still refuse to set aside the pee blankets for Jessica. Am I the a-hole for cutting up baby blankets before throwing them away? So yes, horrifying, right? What do you guys think?
So the daughter of the 80-year-old woman, instead of maybe calling Elder Protective Services or getting her someplace safer because something's not quite right there, she yells at the neighbor because mom can't use the trash
to obtain disgusting pee-soaked blankets.
So now I'm kind of like, do we need to make more than one phone call? Like, because daughter's clearly not all quite there. Also, like, the whole, like, leaving the trash everywhere and cutting deadbolts off, like...
Well, and that was one of the comments. Deadbolt was sort of asking,
next level.
Like, okay, this 80-year-old woman, is she strong enough to get bolt cutters and cut bolts, or was the family helping?
Maybe that, but I'm also just like, I'm scared to know what lady's house looks like. That sounds awfully hoardery.
Molly said, actually, or also isn't going through someone else's garbage technically an offense? Actually not. Depending on where the garbage is kept. Yeah, if you put your garbage out for the garbage collector to come get, whatever kind of service you have, it is technically, once you've put this refuse out, it's technically not considered yours anymore. That's why the cops can come get your DNA. Like that's one of the ways that they do that. Like they would look through your garbage for stuff. So maybe they couldn't smell it. Here's the thing. A cat with kidney issues, it's like very disgusting, smelly, obvious pee. It's not like, is there a pee stain on this? I mean, I'm sure if this cat is letting go on these blankets.
Well, and she said she doesn't toss them until they're like disgusting and soaked. So it's clearly not one little tinkle and they throw it out.
Right. Yeah. It's not a smell that ever goes away. Right. Yeah. So I can't even. So, yeah. I think maybe, are we all in agreement here that cutting up these baby blankets is a good thing, and calling like the elder services or something.
Well, and also you're gonna yell at someone because they cut up something like they cut up their garbage before they threw it out. Like the level of audacity there. I literally just would have been standing at the doorway, like.
Brian Birdman says use toxic waste mark bags, but maybe that won't. I'm kind of thinking if you've got pee soaked blankets in there, you don't have a problem with that. Yeah, it's bad.
I have a feeling that like mod art, that like a note that says they've been peed on by a cat wouldn't work. I think I'd have to say something more like used to clean up, nuclear waste. Like, or just put a note on it like, sorry, my husband went on the floor. Like, like something so kind of outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, this one I'm like,
this carried a dead body. Like,
this one I'm just like, oh yeah, word and bird. I keep thinking there's another part of the story. With all of these, there's always more to the story. You can only work with what you've got.
So other ones though, I feel like that one that you were mentioning that like you read and someone came and told more context and you were like, oh, I don't feel like there's a way to spin this that to where like
no, not like that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I just am like, there's clearly far juicier things that would lead me to just be more like, oh. And like, don't get me wrong, I know there are people that have definite issues and things like that, but while I have compassion, I'm judging from inside the compassion.
Yeah, and what Molly just said, that like Goodwill has blankets, and yeah, and that was kind of the question, like why, and so they're kind of like, well, is the family sort of just letting her do this because, I mean, she may have dementia. She may have some type
that's what I mean. I think she clearly has some.
And so the family, instead of like trying to address it, is just like, yeah, if all you're doing is taking things out of the trash, no big deal. But I just can't. Honestly, I kind of would very much. Hi, Marianne. Enablers. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I just, what was missing for me was the poster did not say, cats have peed on this. Like, and I almost would just be like, yeah, go ahead, make your blanket. I want to see it. I mean, if you're not going to take no for an answer about like, don't break into my trash, which I put a padlock on, and you're going to just feel like, you have this, you're entitled to my cat pee blankets, I would just be like, okay, I'd love to see the quilt when it's done. Don't bring it in my house though. Show me in the front yard. So awful.
Although there was probably some legal issues though. She cut off their padlocks.
Yes, I think that there would be a legal issue there because presumption, you presume that the trash is not on the curb at that point,
right?
Because it's got padlocks. The trash people can't pick it up, so it's on their property. It's not put out for the garbage men. Yeah. So, keep your garbage in the garage because of bears. Yeah, certainly if you have the ability to bring your trash into a locked area, that's a good idea.
Or if you're in an area with bears, because I was going to say there are definite areas that don't have bears.
Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement here. This is not only a gross story.
She's not the a-hole. I'm assuming it's a she, but
yes, I'm pretty sure it was a she. Because I want to say I edited out some stuff that I think was
more context.
She mentioned husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could easily replace that entire story out of like baby blankets with just like fabric.
Anything.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely hear all kinds of stories about like fabric found in my mom's garage when she died, or and people like just
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you think about like some fabric that's maybe been sitting around and just gotten kind of musty. That's you can wash that usually. But sometimes stuff is like she could not free feed until garbage day. Um, yeah, I mean, let's move on. So,
at this point, I kind of want to tell girlfriend, just burn them in the backyard.
right? Yeah, just burn them. Throw them in the. Yeah.
And why are you burning these? I have to save my neighbor
from cat pee quilts. Ooh. All right. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my niece a doll like her sisters? So, I edited this one down significantly just for time.
Okay, because when you read the title, I'm like, is that it?
No. So, I, 26 female, have no kids. But my oldest brother has 2 daughters. And she doesn't name the children. She just calls them oldest niece, youngest niece. So the oldest is 7, youngest is 5. As someone who grew up with siblings, it's very clear that the oldest daughter is the golden child. She gets what she wants, no matter how expensive, and is always showered with praise for her pageants and singing. Pageant child, right? My younger niece is very shy and enjoys things like reading and animals. Recently, my younger niece has been feeling bad about herself, and she told me it's because she didn't like her auburn curls. So it's her hair color. She's very sad because everyone always says how pretty her sister's hair is, which is blonde and straight. It got so bad that she'd apparently tried to cut it off, but her mom just laughed it off as a childhood mishap. When I was over at my brother's house, I noticed they were playing with dolls. One was a very nice Barbie doll. Or the older niece had a very nice Barbie doll, while the younger niece had something that looked like a short, cheap Walmart knockoff with bright red hair. And I asked why, and her mom told me it was because she couldn't find a doll with red hair, with real red hair. For months, I searched doll making and restoring. I took a Barbie and replaced her hair with some that matched my niece's and painted the eyes. On her birthday, my youngest niece was ecstatic, but her sister was obviously not. Only a few days later, her parents called me, telling me that I needed to make the older niece a doll as well. I said, I'll do it for her on her next birthday. They said no, she needs it immediately because she's been upset that her sister's doll was customized, unlike hers. And the younger niece wouldn't share her customized doll. They accused me of not caring about their older daughter's feelings. And now the older niece is pouting, and she basically had to hang up on her brother. So what do you guys think? Yeah.
So instead of calling this "Am I the a-hole," can we call this like "I hate the parents"?
Like I think I honestly think that sometimes with these stories with parents, it's like the child's really not the problem; it's the parents. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like that poor
make
girl...
it out of pea-soaked blankets. Yeah, wrap it in a pea-soaked blanket.
That poor like the way they describe it, like secondhand sister, man, that girl is gonna have some issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other one will too. Just
yeah. Well, Marianne says us Auburn redheads get beat on our whole lives. Send her a link to American Girl dolls and forget about it. Robin says these parents are clearly showing favoritism towards the oldest child. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. My son has beautiful auburn hair, and yeah, not like I tried to buy him a doll with his hair color, but you don't see dolls with that hair color other than like, the American whatever dolls and
American Girl dolls.
Yeah, specialty dolls and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Little Mermaid though, I mean, it's not really auburn, but it.
Well, or that I've never seen the movie, but Tangled. It doesn't that lead female.
Yeah, I want to say. Yeah, I'm trying
hair?
to think. I believe she does. Yeah, I think she does.
But keep in mind how long it took for those movies to come out. And like back when I was a kid, an American Girl doll was a real big thing. Mm-hmm. They only had 4 dolls. So, and none of them had auburn hair. You had black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, and another. Well, I guess Felicity, kind of, but she was more brown than red.
So that's one of the dolls, Felicity.
Mm-hmm. Felicity.
Mardiv says Brave. Yeah, that was one of the most recent ones, wasn't it? Brave?
Yeah, so more recent to the point of like it's not part of my generation growing up. Oh, Tangled, yeah, Rapunzel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having being the parent of a boy who is now 27, and my nieces are all older. I don't know what is going on with Disney movies these days. So
Well, half of me for like this aunt, half of me is like, you know something? Tell the parents where to go. And then I'm like, are you in a position where you can adopt that second child because she's clearly better off with you? Like,
yeah, and the thing is, like, I guess I feel really sad when I hear these stories because it's like, that kid is not, she's being treated like she's always going to have this issue. Oh, your sister's prettier.
mhm,
Oh, your sister's smarter. Oh, your sister's more echo. Why can't you be more like your sister?
mhm.
And that's an issue. Like, that's not something that you can solve. The parents have to realize and solve it themselves, And knowing the amount of friends I have who were middle children or the oldest who got ignored or the youngest who got ignored, it happens into adulthood. It never changes. So it's really unfortunate when you see a situation with a child and there's really a limit on what you can do with other people's children.
Well, and the fact that like she got to be all ecstatic for this customized doll, and then immediately that other sister had to just like come in and just dump all over it
Mm-hmm.
because like
Yeah.
why on earth should she expect a gift on her sister's birthday?
Well, and that's the thing though, that is something that I noticed even when my son was little. The kids that parents would just, instead of teaching their children, you know what, this is not your special day. This is your sibling's special day. And on your special day, you get presents. This is your sibling's special day. But they will still buy the present for the other sibling so the other sibling doesn't feel left out.
Yeah, my mother did that when we were like 4, like, but once we reached a certain age where we
Mm-hmm.
could understand that
Yeah.
like
Well,
this
remember,
is
these
not
children
good.
are 5 and 7.
But the oldest is 7, so she should more
Mm-hmm.
than know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
about
and,
you.
you
If
know, I
she's
mean,
old
that's,
enough, if she is old enough to look like a literal adult in a child's pageant, because like that's
I
like
know.
they make them look like tiny, like full-grown women.
When
But
when
that's a
I
whole
saw the
other
part
thing.
about the pageant, all I could think of was John Benet Ramsey looking like some 40-year-olds working 9 to 5. Like, gosh.
Yeah, so if she can like grasp all of that and like all the things you have to learn and the things you have to say and you have to sound grown up, like if she can do all that, but she can't understand that, like, guess what? It's not a pageant. Today's not about you. And like,
Mm-hmm.
hmm.
Yeah, Mardim just said, eh, too many chat things up. My whole childhood was, why aren't you more like your sister? And it sucked. Yeah. I as a,
You
as
know
a
what?
person,
Yeah, Martin, that does suck, and I'm mad for you.
it does. And I mean, I'm an only child. My son is an only child. Um, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it just stinks, and I don't know what it's like to have more kids. I don't know what it's like to be part of a bigger family. Um, Certainly I see it in some of my relatives where there's just one of the kids always is like the shining star, the athlete, the brain in school, and it just, I don't like it, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Molly asked, have you seen the Jean Benet Ramsey documentary on Netflix? Yes,
Oh
I
yes, of
have.
course, of course we have.
And I definitely was watching that thing because I had totally forgotten really all about that case because it was big when I was much younger, much younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally like through that
Yeah.
whole thing, I had to go back and like remind myself things about the case and
Yeah,
whatnot.
I mean, it was so I was either pregnant with my son or had just had him because I can just vividly remember the People magazine and the Inquirer and all that stuff. I just remember all the things. And I didn't
Mhm.
really pay that much attention to it at the time, like, gobbling up the news stories or anything just because I was so busy and young mother. But yeah, I just remember, and I remember thinking like, wow, what a, like, just a horrible thing. And then that whole pageant piece of it. And, no offense to people that do pageants, but yeah, I don't like pageants. I think they're icky. And, yeah, I just, judging people based on their beauty and
I mean, you are talking about the most benign part of the issues with pageants.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean,
like,
yes, exactly.
You know,
There are
like,
so many
it's
horrible
so
things.
much worse than that.
Of course it does, but you know, I mean, just basically. Oh, Molly says, I get it. The little girl just wanted to do what her mom did. Yeah. Yeah. But also, let's not get into pageants. So, yeah, so we're hoping that somebody is adopting this poor, sweet, younger.
Yeah, well, and I have to say, like, that aunt is, like, it shouldn't be, am I the a-hole? It should be, like, am I the rock star? It's, like, yeah, like, that little girl totally deserves an aunt like that. Like, it's going to literally study how to customize a doll.
I agree. You know, I guess the only problem is, and I don't disagree with her doing it and giving it to the child. But I also know, like, if this were me, and this person, the poster was 26. I think at this point in my life, if I was dealing with something like, I probably would do the same thing, but I would go into it knowing there's going to be issues.
Oh, sure.
You know, because you'd have to be foolish to think like that what happened wasn't going to happen.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Depending on more context, because I'm sure if she's been seeing years of the first child getting like this extreme favoritism, I would probably do it maybe specifically to cause issues. You know, like maybe just to troll the parents and to make their life suck for a little while. Because I might just get that petty watching this poor kid be like, you know, a second class citizen in their own house, you know. But that's just some of my inner childhood trauma coming out.
Yes. Yeah, Robin says she's the best aunt there is and most likely the only one in the family to be there for the youngest. Yeah. Make the new one an ugly doll. I love it. That's a good one. Yeah, make it ugly.
See, so we should have called this stream like, we talk about stuff and we get petty. But don't worry, there's an unboxing later.
All right, so moving on to this next one, which is another doozy. Am I the a-hole for not including the entire family, this is in quotes, entire family, in a quilt I made for my mother?
Is the entire family like 50 fucking people? Oh, sorry.
We will get there. Now, this person did not give an age and a gender, but I'm guessing it's a girl, and I'm thinking she must be young because she still lives at home. And just the way she describes, we'll get there. But I'm guessing this is probably somebody who's maybe late teens, early 20s is my guess, just based on what they said. So, this is the story. A little while ago, it was my mother's birthday. I like to sew, so I thought I would make her a quilt. I got some family pictures printed onto fabric and added them in the quilt. When I gave the quilt to my mother, she seemed happy at first before she looked at all the photos. Then she looked disappointed. And when I asked why, she said she was upset that I didn't have any photos, including the dog. I have always had a phobia of dogs, and my mother knows this very well. I'm not allowed to go to therapy either. This is why I think this is a younger person who still lives at home. So I was left with no resources to help me with this fear. It is especially bad since whenever I leave my room, my mother or brother try to get the dog to chase and bark at me since they think it's funny. She treats this dog more like a human child, even calling it her youngest son. She cooks it meals every day, gets it food at McDonald's, gives it many presents at Christmas, and practically every frame photo in our house is of the dog rather than anyone else. She's had the dog for 6 years now and has mentioned quite a few times that she values the dog's life over her children's lives. When making the quilt, yes, I did purposefully exclude the dog. I did this partly because I felt there was already enough photos of the dog in the house, and partly because I wanted to give her something to remind her of her human children. The vast majority of the photos I chose were ones taken when me and my siblings were young children, so before they even had the dog. Now, my mother really seems to dislike the gift. I asked her if she doesn't like it, and she just sighed and said that it was cruel of me not to include her youngest in the quilt. So apparently she asked her dad, and her dad was like, oh no, it's a perfectly great quilt. I'll take it. So there's multiple updates. So here's the first one. It's been around a week since this happened, and my mom has never once used or even touched the quilt. I looked around and found that she'd put it under the bed. My mother has also been a bit more distant with me, and I'm scared that our relationship would be affected by this. Update number 2. Shortly after I woke up this morning, I went to try and grab the quilt from under the bed in order to take some photos of it, but I couldn't find it. I asked my dad if he knew where it was, but he was just as clueless as me. We searched the house and couldn't find it. I'll update again if I find out what happened to it. Update number 3. I went outside and checked the trash bin. I found the quilt there hidden under some pea-stained blankets. Just kidding. I found the quilt hidden there under some other trash. I took it out of the trash, tried to clean it up the best I could. It's now hidden in my room. I'm not really sure what to do now. Oh, disown your mother, obviously, but
so I don't know. Let's call this girl Linda. Linda, you call me. Okay. You call me and let me know where that quilt's at. And, you know, this is just a pinwheel. It's just missing the spokes on it. But this just, never mind, this is just a pinwheel.
Call us,
Linda. But I will come help, you know.
Yes, Linda, your mother feels like a real piece of work. You need to disown her.
Well, as soon as she said in there, I'm not allowed to go to therapy, I was just like, oh. And also, like, if she's got a phobia of dogs and her mom and her brother make the dog chase her because they think it's funny, I'm really like, you're disgusting. Like,
there's something wrong with this mother. This is a mother who's not a mother.
You know that book? I forget who wrote it, but it's that book that's I'm Glad My Mother's Dead.
Oh, Janine.
Oh, you just know her. I haven't read it. A friend of mine sent it to me. I haven't read it.
I've heard it's very good. From iCarly. Yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna be one of those scenarios. Like, her mom's gonna die and she's gonna be thrilled. But I would just be like, I think it's time to you know, make your plans to get out of that house as fast as possible. And also, like, you know, if I'm being totally honest, like, Dad's gross too, because he's let his wife do that.
Well, he didn't know, I guess.
There's no way he doesn't know that mom and brother make the dog chase her.
Oh, yeah. Or that she buys the dog McDonald's and basically says, I'd save this dog from a fire before I'd save my children. I edited that out, but she did say that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's one of those issues of a person who never really wanted to have children, but felt that they were supposed to, based on, you know, like, society or their own parents or something like that, because that clearly doesn't sound like someone that ever wanted kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sunday says, reminds me of the episode of Dog Whisperer where the lady is crying because Caesar was disciplining her chihuahua for biting her preteen son.
Oh, I remember that episode. Oh, yeah, we were yelling at the TV. That lady was something else.
You know, it's so, okay, the thing with dogs is, yes, I like animals of any kind. You know, they're not people. And when we take them into our care, we, of course, should take care of them. Because they need us. They you know, when you're the ownership of an animal, you need to feed them. You should not abuse them. You need to, you know, keep them warm and safe and, you know, not terrorize them. That's being a good pet owner. But turning your pet into another child is, some people do that and it's okay, you know, but yeah. Have you ever seen Dave Chappelle doing a skit with like 5? Yes. Yeah. Like, I'm not like, you know, I have to say, on the one hand, given like this state of the world right now and how angry I am at it, thank you for giving me the opportunity to harshly judge other people that I don't know, won't ever see. Although it will be funny if we end up on the news, like groups calling themselves Cakes and Quilt Nerds found outside woman's house, you know, like digging through trash, running around with pinwheels and pea-stained blankets.
Yeah, like throwing pea-stained blankets at some, you know, let's I don't know, let's call her Deborah. At Deborah and chanting about quilts, and like, that would be hysterical. Well,
Okay.
and Druid just said, well, we are a cult now.
We are, technically, yes. Oh, guys, I've got cult news, but we're not going to get to it today. So remember, what I think it's rule number 4 of starting a cult is you got to keep a little bit of like mystery in there. So we're going to keep the mystery going until Cake can get around to doing all the things.
This cult is slow to start because Stephanie doesn't have time.
Your cult leader's a little busy right now. See, the
Please
thing is,
leave a message after the beep.
see, the thing is about cult goals, yeah. The thing is about starting a cult is that you're supposed to be able to just sit back in your cult leader's chair or your throne and just be like, you go do this for me.
So that's the problem. Everybody, your minionness, you're not fulfilling your job titles.
Yes. The tier 1 subscription that you give me to be one of my minions. All right. So, this next one.
Dude, my eye is twitching. Like, how much worse can it get? Like,
it's actually not nearly as bad, but it's just one where I'm like, all right, I know how we as quilters are gonna feel about this one, so let's take your mind out of being a quilter right now, just to be sort of neutral.
Wait, Anne has requested that she be an assistant cult leader, so I think.
Of course.
Yeah, you might have to do that vetting process. I got to pick a really cool name. I don't remember what the hell
I don't remember what it is either. I'll have to
it's
look.
written down somewhere, isn't it?
I can only remember the individual that for my inner circle that I told was going to be in my inner circle was my child. And
you mean your spawn? Yeah,
my spawn. He chose the name Lieutenant. I said I need some lieutenants / assistant cult leaders, and
I remember mine was something like shadow thread something or other.
Something
I don't
like
know.
that, yeah. We yeah, there, for those of you that are new here or don't stop by here often, like, don't worry. I'm not going off the deep end. You know, this whole cult thing, it's sort of an art project. It's kind of like a performance art project /
Yeah, that's what they all say.
I'm just leaning into AI because I think AI is fascinating, even though it's, well, I don't want to digress right now because this will just turn into.
But yeah, so if we all go to Deborah's house, right, with our pinwheels and our pea stained, cat blankets, we can just tell her it's performance art. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just part of our cult performance art. All right, here's the next one. The title is, "Am I the A-hole? I don't like his grandmother's quilt on our bed." My husband's grandmother is a very nice lady, and she used to make quilts for everyone in the family. My husband was basically raised by her, and the quilts she's made are very special to him. He always wants them handled with care, as he says, she won't be around forever, you know. We love this man, right? My problem is I don't like the quilt on the bed we share together. I'd like to get maybe a nice trunk that they could be folded up in and used on occasion, like sitting on the couch watching a late movie, or even on a bed for a super cold night. I just don't want it like it is now, which is that it is our main comforter for our bed. Obviously, this woman knows nothing about quilts. She's calling it a comforter. I really have a hard time feeling sexy and getting in the mood with reminders of his grandmother in bed with us. I've purchased a few different comforters over the years, and he always eventually brings one of the quilts his grandmother made for extra blanket, and then when it's time to get rid of the extra blanket, his quilt is the one that somehow stays every time. When I try to talk about this with him, he gets hurt, and a tone in his voice, and then we'll say something about how warm the quilts are.
Is that the end?
Mm-hmm.
I think she needs to talk to somebody. Now, okay, so full disclosure. When my mom died, there was a small period of time that I was feeling kind of weird. Being intimate with my partner, because there was a part of me that felt that she was like watching from above. I got over that in like 2 weeks, and part of that too probably had to do with the fact that whether you believe in this stuff or not, doesn't matter. I'm not here to like dispute or argue, but there were very clear signs that there were some paranormal-ish type things happening in our house. Example, I'm the only one home because my brother and Sunday have driven to Kentucky to move my brother back from there, and I can hear her footsteps upstairs. And my brother didn't believe me, and then it happened to him too. So like there were some things like that going on. So it was one of those like if you do believe that like people might kind of hang around a little bit after they pass, it was probably feeding into a little bit of that. But
well, hold on a minute. The grandmother's not dead.
No. Hold on. I'm not saying that she is.
Okay. All right.
But what I was gonna say with that is like attaching like people into objects. Even though I felt that way about someone, you know, like that had been important, that raised me kind of a thing. So you have that like maternal attachment. I've never, ever felt that way about her stuff because it's just not the same for me. So like she never made bed quilts. She made small quilts, but I would never be like, I mean, if we're going to play that game, like I'm being intimate with my partner in the house that she owned, you know, or like stuff like that. So I'm just like, I don't know. However, I will say that seems to be a semi-easy compromise situation. Like, I did hear that. Like the place I thought she was originally going with like she doesn't want the quilts on the bed is if they're really, really important, I wouldn't want them on the bed because I'd be afraid of damaging them. I'm a tugger, you know, with a quilt. So that would be my thing of like, can we put it somewhere just for pretty, like on a guest bed or hanging on the back of the couch or, you know, something like that, or just for use, like a blanket in the living room. That would be my thing. But like, because like, I don't feel sexy.
See, here's the thing. I think she's making that up.
Oh, I don't think she's making that up. Well, I think people have issues like that.
Maybe so. But what I got from this was because people did mention like, well, you know, why can't, you know, maybe the quilts, because if they are that, you know, special and valuable, maybe they need to be like hung on the wall or something like that. Let's see. Yes. Exactly, Maradum. I think it is. I think it's that these are quilts that don't match the bedroom decor. I think that's what it is. The quilts don't match the bedroom decor.
But if it is that, why wouldn't you just say that instead of saying something else that makes you sound like we need to call someone?
Well, because it sounds mean. Like your grandmother's quilts.
How does that sound mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, your grandmother's quilts don't match our decor. I think they're ugly.
But wait, don't match the decor and I think they're ugly are two completely separate reasons. And if they don't, I don't know, if your decor is like all like a super neutral gray palette, like that has been really, really popular, and they're, you know, 30s pink and mint green, you know, that might look odd and not necessarily match very well. Or I don't know, maybe they have French country and the quilts are very bicentennial and like, you know.
Well,
I could see that being one of the most reasonable.
Well, I actually have a kind of, not, I don't know, it's not exactly the same. It's my dad used to do this with one of his grandmother's quilts, and this is the part I don't understand. He did not like this grandmother. She lived with him when he was a child. She made his life miserable. So he says, but he would drag this quilt out of hers. And I mean, it was to the point where like it had such a big hole in it, like he would accidentally put his foot through it at night. And my mother would. Oh
my God, why do men do that? My brother does that with something too.
My mother would be like, "We have other blankets. Like, why this? Like, why do you want this blanket?" And to him, it wasn't like this. I'm sentimental. You know, it was just like I just happen to like that blanket, you know, that quilt. And so my mother just finally gave up and was like, "Whatever. I put it away every day, or I don't make the bed."
$20, all of his underwear was also Swiss cheese. Like,
oh yes, you're talking about my father. Yes.
Yeah, like that's quite a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just my perspective was hey Jan, my perspective was that, you know, these don't match her aesthetic, and you know, because again, like, why wouldn't, you know, you just kind of give in and just be like, all right, if you want that blanket on you, then yes, fine. And in the morning, I'll fold it up and put it away, or I'll put it at the foot of the bed, whatever, and I'll remake the bed with the comforter that I like. You know, like, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's super small beer. Like, because when you're asleep at night, you know, it's dark. I am not at all thinking about whether or not my quilt on the bed matches my bedroom.
Yeah,
I don't think HGTV is like sneaking in at night to be like, there's a new TV show, like, whose crap doesn't match? Like, I know.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I'm a very eclectic person, so like, I don't have anything that matches, like, you know, and I like it that way. So, yeah, I don't know. I just don't get uptight about things like this.
I've almost never gone into like a room of anybody's, and my first thought was, well, that quilt doesn't match the room. I feel like quilts are, I mean, certainly people will make quilts to match a room or to match pillows or to match, but I feel like any quilts belong in any room, like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I walked
like,
into somebody's, you know, somebody was giving me a tour of their house and I saw a quilt on the bed and it was like clearly wasn't the same as the decor, it would not be my first thought that it doesn't match. My first thought would be like, oh, this must be a special quilt to them.
Well, example, like if your bedroom was painted, I don't know, blue, and the quilt behind you was like on the bed, I wouldn't just be like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Well, this doesn't go with these blue walls, so we can't be intimate in this bed. Like,
Maritim said, I would win. Whose crap doesn't match? Sister, I'd be a contender too. Okay, are you ready for the last one? Because I think that's what we have time for.
Wait, does it get worse?
This one's just ridiculous, and it's very loosely even connected to quilting. It's just when I saw this one, because I had done kind of a search for different keywords to, you know, find these crafty quilty ones, and this one came up, and I was like, oh, this wasn't even really about craft and quilt, but I'm curious.
You know how they're all related? They match judgy. Like, that's how they're related.
Well, this one, and I'm glad. Hopefully Tish is still here, because she might be able to confirm or deny.
Wait, is it about Tish?
No, it's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
All right, so here we go. Am I the a-hole for asking my Canadian brother's American wife where she got the stripper blanket?
Okay.
I live in Alberta, Canada. Here, strippers / peelers / exotic dancers are allowed
to... Well, we're going to have to visit that word.
You never heard that? I want to say that. I don't know if that's necessarily a Canadian term. I feel like that's a British term. Like, a peeler is somebody that, like...
I mean, we're peeling things now? Like, all right.
So, / exotic dancer, right? Are they allowed to get completely naked when they perform? I don't think there's a whole lot of places in the U.S. where this can happen, except like Nevada, and there might be a couple of other states. But for the most part, like, you got to keep the bottoms on. Like, you can't get, like, totally nude. But apparently in Canada you can. So, here's how it works.
Tish said not in Canada.
Okay.
Although it's funny, I do actually know someone that's been to a strip club in Canada and told me some things about it that already, like... Anywho, go ahead.
So, by the way, I think that where this story is happening is actually in Missoula, Montana, it sounds like. So anyway, this is how this usually works according to and this is a guy, right? This is not a woman writing this. This is a guy. So they usually do 3 songs. One fully fully clothed, one topless, one nude. Then there are stripper games to win posters and magnets and what have you.
Is this where the Peeler part comes in?
Yeah. Since they are nude for that last song and the stripper games, they have a stripper blanket. They are fleece blankets. And I'm going to leave out a little bit, which is so disgusting that I'm just going to leave it out. But
Okay.
Imagine women who are naked sliding around on floors. The blanket's good to be involved. So usually they have an animal or a waterfall or some crap printed on them, a tiger or a beach, you know.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say other things about that there's an animal involved.
No. This on the blanket.
Really weird turn.
This description of this blanket, you guys now probably know exactly what we're talking about. There are these I feel like when you buy them in the US, they're just like, you buy them at Walmart and stuff. They're, they have some kind of scene printed on them. And I mean, he's absolutely right. It's like a tiger or wolves howling at the moon, like that kind of thing. And
they're all those Facebook ads.
They're thick and fleecy. Yes, they're like thick and fleecy. I think they're thicker than like the Joanne fleece, but nonetheless, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen these things. So anyway, then he goes on to say, and they are sold at the side of the road from vans. Like an old Econoline van will set up a pop-up store for knives, pipes, bongs, and stripper blankets. And I'm like, we do have this in the U.S. I mean, absolutely. There's a place I pass on the way to my in-laws' house. It is definitely, they're selling what I'm guessing are stripper blankets. I always thought they were like tapestries for the wall, but I think they might be stripper blankets. I don't know. Anyway, the thing is, they are warm blankets. I was visiting my brother, and I discovered his wife has a stripper blanket. And they keep their house cold, so she wanders around the house wrapped in it. I want one, but she doesn't have an extra. So I asked her, where did she get her stripper blanket? She says, WTF? And I said, where'd you get the blanket? She's like, no. Explain. So he explains. So then she throws the blanket at him and starts screaming for the brother. I guess he got it for her last time he came up for a visit. It has a unicorn and a rainbow, her favorite things. This has all caused a ruckus, and I'm thinking of cutting my visit short. My brother thinks I'm the a-hole for calling it a stripper blanket. She thinks he's the a-hole for buying her a roadside stripper blanket as a gift. She's yelling at him, and he's yelling at me. I just want to leave Missoula with all my parts attached.
So
there's a simple like, don't call it a stripper blanket. Just say, yeah, sis, I love your blanket. Where'd you get it?
Yeah. So they're not specifically blankets for strippers. They just happen to be blankets these particular strippers used.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those, like, I don't know that he's the a-hole, but he's definitely like a bumbling idiot.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, I mean, like, why do you think that would be okay? Because either you are saying like, hey girl, were you once a stripper? Is that why you have this blanket? Or hey, your husband bought you a stripper blanket.
Well, so that's actually where I thought that was going. Was that
I thought so too when I first started reading it.
Yeah, at somewhere a little more nefarious than Temu on the side of the road kind of a thing.
Speaking of, I have bought.
Which if that was the case, I'd be like,
I have purchased from Temu a stripper blanket, which is just Nick Cage's face.
I think I remember hearing about that
face
like forever ago.
That's the only kind of thing I would buy from Temu, and so yes, my son will be getting a Nick Cage's face blanket.
So you think? Like,
so
who knows? It could show up and be a washcloth.
It could be. I don't know. I paid $13 for it, so as long as it shows up, that's all I care about.
Yeah, so...
So Quilt just says, can be completely nude in Alberta. Who knew?
Yeah, I've actually... And that's actually not the first time that I've heard...
Yeah, I have heard... Yeah. I guess people that live in those states that touch Canada. And I mean, there's quite a few of them across the top of our country. And I feel like there's a lot of like crossing the border to do things, whether it's Canada to the US for cheaper stuff or US to Canada for stuff that is just we don't have here.
Yeah, I hear they like to come down here for like Costco or something and Trader Joe's.
So Weird Nerd says my husband's son sells those, printing them with things like his infant son's face and other ridiculous images. He wants to sell them to anyone who will buy. Yeah, I mean,
and I mean strippers get cold too.
Well, I looked at this post as more, yeah, dudes say the dumbest things, but also, you know, for the educational aspect of it, in case you find yourself in Alberta.
We probably should have put like a little like asterisk on this, like a little bit of quilt nerding after dark.
Well, I always put not for children when I did the YouTube part. So,
yeah, even when we're looking at quilt exhibits, I always put not for children.
All right. Well, that is probably the last one, just because of time. I did have a couple of other ones. They're super long. There was a really good one about a MILF situation, and the woman's son is going to be a nude model, and I was just like, ah. That one just ended up being too long with too much information in it, but maybe we kind of do that one another time.
says, now that I get what a stripper blanket is, vans parked at gas stations that sell fleece blankets didn't know that's what they were called.
Now you know. Now you know. If you care what somebody does in, under, or with a blanket you sell or gift, there's something wrong with you. Yeah.
All right. We ready to switch gears? This is going to be like, half of me is like, we totally should have done unboxing first. Because like, how on earth do I follow up this kind of nonsense? Oh my.
You're welcome.
Yeah, right?
Well, we're gonna be scrubbing our brain of cat pee scented baby blankets and wife who doesn't like grandma's quilt should get a stripper blanket.
Oh my goodness.
This is far better than a stripper blanket any day, you guys.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I need like a shower after all that judgment. like I'm tired from, you know, that judgy wudgy was up here. Anyhow, so
tell us where these things are going to show. I've seen a little tiny preview of them, but where do these things come from? What are you unboxing for us today?
So not this past weekend, but the weekend before, Sunday and I were in Maine with AQSG scouting the hotel in Portland that will be for the in-person seminar in October of this year. It was super great. And we stayed an extra night and did a little antiquing because there's some great antiquing in Maine. I thoroughly enjoy antiquing in Maine. And if you all remember, if you'd heard, I ended up with food poisoning for my birthday on the 10th. So I had it for like what was it, like 4 days or something? I forget. What's so funny?
Maradim, correction, Jill. Judgy Wudgy was all bare and under a stripper blanket. So, I have just had a great cult idea. I would say for a tier 2 or 3 subscription to CakeTV, might be able to get you a stripper blanket.
It should have your face on it too.
Or
so
a discount.
It's like your cult leader.
A discount on, and I'm pretty sure that I can do this. I'm pretty sure I can get one printed. A discount on a Dr. Dunton quilt block stripper blanket. I'm on it. I'm on it, Marta Dim. Don't worry about it. I'm on it.
P.S. By the way, on your on your Twitch feed, your chat is now covering up your face.
Oh, yeah, it sure is. Okay. Mm-hmm. let me fix that.
I was gonna say, you might want people to look at you.
Yeah.
If you want to hide, I guess that's okay too. But anyway, so we were in Maine, we were antiquing, and it was also like a last minute, maybe if I find anything interesting for my birthday, since I didn't get to do like anything. So a little column A, a little column B. But yeah, we're up in and around Portland, Maine. And this first thing that I got here, you may have seen at another point in time because it's another one of something I already have. So this is one that will go in the shop. But this is one of those third hand clamps. So you got the clamp here, and then this part right here swings to clamp in your piece of something. It's not supposed to have like a pincushion or anything on it. It's just meant to be a third hand. But it's pretty. See, it swings out there. There's
I like the face of it, the piece that goes against the table, and you know, the thumb screw. It's ornate. It's pretty. And this is like is this like an enameled cast iron piece?
Yeah,
or
that's what
just
it
a
feels
cast
like.
iron.
And it's also reasonably small as well. Like some of those other clamps can be pretty big because they're, some of them have a lot of doodads and things on them. But yeah, this one's just cute. So this one will end up in the, ooh, wow, that got really small. I didn't know we could go really small. Like I thought it just stopped at 0.
I'm curious to know with that little swinging thing, because I know some of them, like everyone's probably familiar with like the beak, the bird that's, that you clamp it with their beak, and it kind of like, but this one, it's like a that little swinging thing. I think it's just kind of to hold the fabric with tension against the bottom.
Yep.
Have you tried that? Like, does it work? Like, is it? Yeah. Can you give it a good tug and it'll?
Yeah. There's the one that there's a I think it's a reel that I did on my business page, and I'm pretty sure I have that clamp on there, but it has fabric in it. But let me go back here. But you see, there's teeth.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's pretty. I've never actually like tried using it literally like with a piece of something. But the one that I had bought previously that lives in my collection came with fabric in it, like in the teeth. And
I have to be honest, this is not a needlework tool that we use very frequently now, but if you do have to hand sew something, or you're doing something with like finger weaving and you need like a some place to clamp something, these are fantastic for that, know.
Yeah, and they're just little cutesies. Like, you can really fall down quite a rabbit hole if you start collecting clamps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a couple of clamps, and they're just, yeah.
There's some fancy schmancers out there. So this was one of the things that was for my birthday, because she had a January birthday too, January 31st.
And what was her name? Is it?
It's so up here we got SS Bab, and then it's Sophia Bab, Babb.
Okay.
Right here. So yeah, it'll be her birthday soon. She was born in 1817, and then she was 11 when she made this in 1828. I also really liked the stitching down here that says Westbrook. I thought, like, I haven't seen that kind of stitch on a lot of samplers.
Oh, it's like a little straight stitch that kind of outlines.
Like a box. Yeah, it's like a box or something. So yeah, I thought that was pretty.
I actually, we didn't do much of a sort of a update at the beginning, but we saw the Schwenkfelder History Center, History and Culture Center this weekend had tea and textiles with Caroline, and one of the lectures was about samplers, but it was about paper samplers.
There's a piece you'll see that's related to that.
Yeah, but I learned a little bit more than I realized about just samplers in general. About when she's talking about, there's the cross stitches, there's just the straight stitch, the outline stitch. And I mean, these are things I know from embroidery and a little bit from cross stitch. I'm not a cross stitcher, but yeah. So I started thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, these really, and maybe not so much this one because this is just the alphabet, but the ones that are really ornate that have pictures in them, like a house or something. I really realized how much. I mean, they're not just cross stitching. There is a significant amount of embroidery stitches in some of those.
Don't forget to keep your eye on the YouTube too, because I can't see it.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, because I'm just picturing like that. I know Anne's around. I'm like, she might have something to say. This is a needle case that also became part of my birthday present. I have it's in my hand here for one to show you how big it is. It's a bit of a honker. Um, and I got got a super duper deal on it. So I was really excited
So
and it
I remember you kind of described it to me like at the beginning as kind of umbrella-esque.
yeah.
I mean, is that what it is? Because I know it's got that little thing at the top. Like, is
Well,
that
so
what?
it's got that little thing at the top and then it's got the little spindle thing, the what's the pokey thing at the bottom of the umbrella? What do they call that?
The spine? I don't know. I don't
The
know.
tip. I don't like somebody. I'm sure somebody knows like what that little thing is.
Just the tip.
Um, I don't know if it's like specifically described as an umbrella, but the shape is. But then with all these like knobs,
Hmm.
that's one thing that would be like, I'm not entirely sure. But I literally just bought them, so I haven't even looked into any of it. And then like that's just a picture of it open. It does have some needles in it right here.
Hmm.
Um, but it's got a big space inside. And it's funny because I was out shopping and like I had sent a picture of a case to our friend Dawn and she like circled that. She's like, "Oh my God, get it." So once I like pulled it out and saw that it was in decent shape, it does have like right here, it's got like a little bit of a crack. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think the person selling it had it dated to like the 1830s, I think. I think.
Druid says that it's the ferrule,
Of course, she's got to come in with like the fancy language. Here I was just looking for it's like the spigot, like whatever the thing is. But here is a perforated paper pin keep. This is not a sampler, but this was another birthday present piece, and I mean like it's pretty, it's pretty small. But I have a number of these perforated paper pieces. So when we were doing tea and textiles, I'm used to these small pieces.
Hmm.
Needlework tools, bookmarks is probably about as big as I've really like ever paid attention to. So when she was busy showing sampler after sampler after sampler, like big
Mm-hmm.
things done with the paper and like that lace work thing
Oh, that was so cool. I'd
was
never seen
showing,
those before. Yeah.
that was very cool. And also if I understand correctly, I'm pretty sure the Swankfelder is now selling the recording of those lectures.
Oh, nice.
If anyone wants to go, it was a very good lecture.
I'll see
And
if I can
she
grab
also
that.
gave out some great um resources that if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I posted actually in the Quilt Nerding Facebook group. But yeah, so we've got February 14th, 1857 on the front here, and then on the back it says Edith. And I love it
Aw.
because it makes me think of Lady Edith from Downton Abbey.
And by the way, February 14th. I mean, it's Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
um, and so you said it's a pin keep. Like, is the paper over something? Like, is it wrapped around
Yeah,
something?
so that's
Like,
on the sides of it. Do I have one right here? I thought I had one still in here. Well, this is not, this is much more involved than that, but this is a beaded piece that I have sitting right here. But yeah, see how the pin keep part is on the inside here, and then you've got, beaded, beaded. So it's like that, but on a much, much smaller scale.
gotcha. Okay.
And then I have a pin keep shell that for some reason I've been interested in shells recently. So it's the back of it. And then you have the top here with the pin cushion part right
And that
here.
little piece of scrap. We glued that
Yeah,
little
like they
scrap
did a
down.
little decoupage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those little, they're typically embossed.
Mm-hmm.
Those little pieces, they're called scrap. And
Oh.
they were for scrapbooks and for decoupage and, decorating things.
They still make that kind of stuff now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
and uh, recreations of these. They make
mhm.
reproduction ones too. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get some really fancy ones, like with like ridiculous looking shells and stuff. Like,
yeah. I've always thought these were so interesting, you know, because it's like it's a very DIY kind of thing. But then I think maybe some of them aren't. I feel like some of them maybe are, you know, and I'm sure it was a cottage industry kind of thing. Like there was a person making these, but they're like, I feel like you could probably buy them at like touristy kind of destinations, couldn't you?
well, I think especially the ones that end up with like stickers on them or things related to some particular place. I haven't seen a ton of the more souvenirish type ones, but that doesn't also mean that like this if it was like this thing came off.
Right. Yeah.
You know. I just noticed when I see them, I also like look at all this detail on here.
Oh yeah, Anna's reminding us that the lecture mentioned Victorians love stickers. Yes, yes.
Yes, yeah.
They love to stick stuff on things and make them
Victorians, yeah, the Victorians were like on to stickers before Lisa Frank came onto the scene to be a terrible person. Then I got a buttload of trade cards. There was a dealer there that had a box of like 300 of them. And at first I was like, I'm going to go through all these because a friend of ours was looking for a particular kind of trade card for a lecture. I didn't have any. So I was just like, oh, I'll keep my eye out. Like, I feel like when you find trade cards in antique stores, you either find a dealer that has a box or they have like one. So when I saw a box, I'm like, I'll go through these. And I just ended up finding a lot of sewing related ones, not the one I was looking for. And I grabbed a bunch for my collection because I find them insanely ridiculous. Like they often have absolutely nothing to do with what they're advertising. Totally different than generally how we do our advertising today. But like, yeah, a new home sewing machine in Orange, Massachusetts. What does this picture have to do with that?
Right?
Our neighbors' pets, like
cat, dog, and is that a mountain lion behind the child?
It looks like a tiger. And then this little thing here, there's sadness in our baby's eye. Tabby, Pole, and Poodle sigh. They would be glad if Pa would buy a new home sewing machine. Like,
so the text is essentially like, this kid is sad and so are all the pets. You need to go buy a sewing machine.
Yeah, stuff is weird.
Oh, the marketing of yesteryear.
So I did get a number of them that are in this type of style. That I don't have any, and this one's a company that does, you know, piano, organ, or sewing machine, and they're 5,000 agents wanted. And this card entitles the holder to $1 worth of sheet music. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, but yes, I have a number of them like that. But like, she's looking kind of like, yeah.
Oh, Werner noticed this is Bangor, Maine. I noticed the other one was Massachusetts.
Yeah, Orange, Massachusetts. A lot of them were in and around, I think, New England. I've seen this one before.
This one bothers me a bit. Like, why do we have this naked child? Like, what does that have to do with thread? Why are they looking at a butterfly? Like,
yeah, and it's Willimantic thread. Just not even any thread.
Well, I guess this could actually be a
textile.
That could be a bomb. Was it a bombix or whatever? The silk moth.
Oh. Sure. I wouldn't assume it. Also, like, her ear is weird.
Some people have weird ears.
But like, she like barely has a lobe. Like, it's.
Yeah, some people have attached ears. Like, yeah.
Well, I don't think this is a photograph of a real person. Like, it's a drawing of something, but I'm just like, what's wrong? What's wrong with your ear? Yeah, it's AI. Then we have this one for the Davis sewing machine, and
I like
she's
this
very
one.
lovely.
Yeah.
And then we have this one for more Willimantic thread. At least this one has thread. But like, why is the bird
this forlorn child?
Yeah, the bird is like taunting the
Yeah.
cat with the thread. Like,
Yeah. And this child is just like, this did not end up how I thought it would.
and like, well, also, why is that spool of thread half of the child's size? You know, she's probably just like, I just wanted a little spool, and they gave me this like honking thing. Like,
You often wonder, was Salvador Dali and all of the surreal stuff that he did in the 20th century, kind of wonder, was he looking at advertisements from the Victorian era going like, that is real messed up, what else can I do?
I wouldn't be surprised. I got quite a few of them in this style, so I'm guessing it's some kind of ad campaign for package dyes, diamond dyes. So I found them to be very interesting. Like this one in and of itself isn't very interesting. They get better. But it's funny, usually when I'm like looking at trade cards or we're like talking about trade cards, we're often doing like thread, sewing machines. There might be some notions in there, maybe some fabric, but we're often like not necessarily talking about dyes. And I think we need to, based on the things we're learning about dyes.
Mm-hmm. Dyes were very common in the mid 19th century for either changing or rehabbing clothing. What I thought was interesting about this one is it says, let us go to Utah and live and die happy. And so I'm curious to know, like, is this company Diamond Package Dyes, are they from Utah? Or is this like I don't know, like a secondary plea for polygamy? I don't understand.
Well, it could be. There's two ladies on his arms.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting one.
Here's another one that was in that
Harrison Moxley.
Where he's looking very like regal. Another sewing machine, white and fancy goods. This one doesn't claim that you get free stuff though if you take the card. This one's just like, man, card, address. Like, very to the point. This one would probably not be considered politically correct at this point in time. But I was actually a little curious because, I mean, it's Coates and Clark spool thread, but with the tea and textiles lecture yesterday when we were talking about things like palampours and stuff like that, the sad part about not having the context was Coates and Clark's actually sold, in Asia at this time, and that's why this is like this? Or are we using people more as caricatures? Like, what would be necessarily behind this? Because like it's Victorian period, so it's not the 1500s here, it's 1880. So we are well into trade routes. So
yeah. But yeah, also though, I mean, I'm thinking about I mean, I don't know if Coates and Clark was sold overseas or not, but I kind of don't think they were. But from the perspective of, the Victorians, whether they had real pictures, real experience, they were so, Orientalism, so, romanticized, and, they would maybe see pictures or some type of, information and then just run with it. And
and they were definitely in love with Asian fabrics. Again, though, I want to be like, why are the spools the size of people? Like, then we have this, where there was a whole set of trade cards that had
different countries,
a number of countries on them. I did get quite a few of them. I definitely don't think I have the whole thing. This one's actually dated down here, 1892. For Singer Manufacturing Company.
This made me think, this is another one of those things where you think about like cigar silks or cigar flannels and cigarette flannels and stuff. Those like major collectors thing are the flags of the whole, the whole world. And, I'm starting to think like, with travel is ramping up in the 19th century because of the Industrial Revolution. I think people are really interested in this, like, certainly not nearly as connected as we are today, but starting to be interested in what other people in other countries are doing. I mean, we've got photography now.
True story. Here's another one of
These
those.
freak me out. I do not understand why these disembodied heads, like, I still
And
want to
well, at the
look at
top,
them.
like with the compliments of the new home sewing machine company. And this one says, look, it says like New York, but then and Orange, Massachusetts, which if you're not familiar, Orange, Massachusetts is in Western Massachusetts, which where it borders New York. So, but yeah, she's kind of like, hi. Oh my God, do you think she's wrapped in a stripper blanket?
Either that or it's a stripper blanket on a very plush bed and a disembodied head has just been plopped on. Because, I can't tell if it's like she's going like this with her arms underneath the blanket or if she's just a head laying on like a.
I feel like she's got the blanket like even kind of over her head. Or like maybe it's like a curtain or something. Word and Birdner just grabbed something from Cornell. Cards were often used in sets pertaining to a single subject. Famous buildings, great composers, birds and animals, even women's hairstyles, and collectors swapped cards with one another to complete their sets. Interesting. And also she thinks it's a hood. It could be.
Yeah.
But it's looking a little stripper blankety at the moment.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think it does. It's one of those, like, I was just looking at something on Instagram today, historical costuming, and I think.
But you know something? Do you know what would really communicate that it's a hood? Shoulders. That's what would communicate that it's a hood. Okay, so anyhow, these ones were very interesting as well. They're like long and like a lot skinnier, so they wouldn't be as easy to hold it all together because they're oddly shaped. But I've got a couple of them. But this one
and what
is
I
a
love
little...
is I actually have several spools of star braid. It's skirt braid.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think that I do. I've actually never even seen these ones before, and all of a sudden, there they were. I think it's kind of cute that they make up the wheels of the little bike. But again, like, why are they human sized?
I mean, I guess it was just one of those things where they probably, the advertisers and the people that made this, lithography stuff was kind of like, well, let's see, how can we take the product and make it whimsical? I mean, watch a Doritos commercial today and you're like, what? It's kind of the same thing.
But the Doritos aren't human sized. Here's another one. I thought this one was kind of like cute and flippant. Like she's literally changing the yucky tab there on the bottom of her dress. I forget, what do you call that?
The dust ruffle or the
whatever like protects the hem from getting all gross.
Definitely. Well, I mean, in some cases it is the skirt braid. Yeah, it gets.
Well, she looks like she's like adding more to or something. I'll tell you, I'm so glad that I wasn't living in a period where we were dressing like that, because constantly having my hem be disgusting. I'm just thinking about like all the PTSD from like 90s jeans, like being wet up to your knees because they were dragging on the ground.
I actually still have my favorite pair of jeans, like were too long because my legs are an odd length. And so I just whacked the bottom of them off. And I've literally walked the back edge of them, like has a divot in it from just scuffing on the back. So yeah. And I think that too, like it's gross, I think, to have your clothing dragging on the floor. But yeah, it's no worse than having.
Well, and when you consider how dirty everything was then, meaning like roads, and then they're literally like walking in like roads. They're not paved. They're covered in horse poop. Like, yummy. Here's a disembodied head for you.
Yeah, the children's heads in Flowers and Plants, that was a major theme in the Victorian era.
Yeah, and this one is New York. Black, white, and colors for hand and machine. Makes me wonder if there was like, like if anyone hasn't watched the Lisa Frank documentary, like you totally should, like just absolute mind blown. But so they had in there, they had like a whole office of artists just constantly like creating art. I wonder if it was the same scenario for like these trade cards, if they literally just had an artists.
Well, Word and Bird Nerd
You
added
know,
this. As with many of today's advertising campaigns, images on trade cards may be totally unrelated to the product they were advertising, instead appealing or pandering to the customer's tastes, prejudice, or sense of humor. And honestly, we see that today too. I mean, it's admin, you know? The admin come up with this stuff and, you know.
I like the ones that are funny. But like this this is just odd. What was the taste we were catering to here? Like, I like babies' heads in flowers. Check. Like,
Yeah.
like, is this like the precursor to Ann Geddes? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's when I see that stuff, that's exactly what I think of as Ann Geddes and stuff like that. And there's actually a whole, I don't know that I've seen a trade card with it, but I have seen several patterns. I actually have one of the quilts where they're kittens that are coming out of a Pussy Willow branch. And in some cases, like the quilt I have is just kind of, the kittens are sort of crawling all around and it's implied that they came from the, you know, the branch. But other ones, it literally looks like the kitten is attached to the branch where the little Pussy Willow knob would be. Really bizarre.
That's very bizarre.
Yeah, but that was like another thing.
Here's another one. Maids, let's see. 3 little maids from school are we. We know a thing or 2 or 3. And what we know twixt you and me, 3 little maids from school, is mill and cotton is confessed by north and south and east and west to be of all AI the best 3 little maids from school.
That was weird to be.
And what's interesting is we've clearly got like the Asian flair going on here, but like,
yeah,
those ladies could not look any less Asian.
Yeah, isn't 3 Little Maids from, I'm drawing a blank. What was that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely from something. I just don't remember.
It's an opera. Gilbert and Sullivan, yeah.
Is
it the Mikado? Is it from the Mikado? Because that was the Mikado was another thing, turn of the century, very popular. Lots of white people playing Asians.
There you go.
Yeah.
Here's another one of those. Maud. This is Maud. Half of me wants to bring back that name. Maud. I like weird names. But yeah, we've got, this is another white and fancy goods. I like her hat.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering if, like, a Word and Bird Nerd said, like, some of these things showed, like, women's hairstyles and stuff. I wonder if this is showing off the hat. I mean, that maybe what the purpose of this one is, or just her whole.
Well, this one's sewing machines. But it could also be like if they have fancy goods. But because considering that so many stores were a little more one-stop shop than some of ours are now. There's a really cool one I have that's for like a draper. But here's another one that's a more disembodied head.
See, now that one's super creeper. She's got like a shawl around her and she's like. So Mara Dim says her newest granddaughter's middle name is Maud.
Yay!
So people are using it. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of an upcoming trend now with naming babies like kind of older names like that. I think it's sweet.
Here's another one. It seems to really, it's looking less and less like a hood to me and looking more and more like
a random disembodied head wrapped in a.
This is Lydia Thompson. I'm guessing these might have been, I wonder if they were actresses at the time.
Can we get a picture? Can we do a cake trade card?
Sure. I feel like we should. We could totally like make it in this likeness. Oh my God, that'd be hysterical.
Me and Abe.
Abe, your babe. Your babe, Abe. Oh yeah, stage curtains, Marodim. I wouldn't be surprised because they're giving me actress vibes. Is Lydia Thompson an actress? Like in Victorian period, someone should totally like look that up. Lydia Thompson.
Lydia Thompson. I will look that up.
But it looks like birthing. Oh my God. What kind of stage curtains are you talking about? Here's another one of those country ones. This one's Italy. Also like 1892. I think Italy has like 3 or 4 of them because I have another one that's Italy.
Yes, I think this Lydia Thompson was an English dancer, comedian, actor, and theatrical producer.
There you go.
I mean, she looks like she's primarily Europe though, but there's a picture of her wearing like some kind of hat that I don't know.
Well,
It's
even if these are made for the US, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't use European actors and then, vice versa. Here's this one. This is what, Millie
Millie B.
Balaka? Is it Balaka? It's like M apostrophe LLE. And then like Balaka.
Oh, that's Mademoiselle.
Ah.
Mademoiselle. So then, yeah, definitely BEL.
OCCA.
There's an Anna Belaka who was a soprano in 1854.
Interesting. Interesting. Now this one's cute. Okay,
Aw.
this one makes a little more sense.
Rocking a baby with a giant spool of thread.
Yeah, just like dogs are supposed to do. Because that dog is that baby's human sibling that mom puts above all else and will save in a fire before the child.
Yeah. So the dog has to look out for the child.
I thought this one was cute. Largest, well, we've got another here, piano, organ, and sewing machine house in Maine. Bangor, Waterville, and Rockland.
She reminds me of why can't I think of what they are? The little statues, the little
Like Precious Moments?
not Precious Moments, it's the older one. Oh, you guys know what I'm talking about. We can move on.
Hummels?
Yes.
Hummels?
Hummels. Yes, thank you, Druid.
Yeah, Druid said Hummels.
Yeah, that's what
And
she
then
looked
I
like to
took
me.
a picture of the back of this one because it was interesting. Most of the other ones, it just has very generic stuff on it. But we've got facts. We've got how to buy low. Beware of dealers.
This is all good advice today. Beware of the dealers.
Yep. I thought that was cute. And also, like, it was totally normal to like really talk smack about your competitors on these things, like things today that we would be suing for like defamation or libel or something like that. Yeah, not so much then. Here's another one.
Yeah, this little girl looks a little Hummelish too. Look at her fan. That's that fan that they love. It's that sort of oriental
The size of
looking
her
fan.
head.
But the Victorians love that fan, and remember, they put it in crazy quilts. And how many crazy quilts now that I know to look for that? Every crazy quilt I ever look at practically has one of those fans, like in corners.
Here's another. Remember that one we looked at where you're like, are they trying to like talk about polygamy? And I told you like there's more in that series. Look at this thing. Cruel deceiver, you or I must die.
And people talk about how gentle times these were in the past and that we're more violent now. Well, this lady's holding a gun to her head while she's holding a gun to somebody else's head. Like,
not
come
even just
on.
her head, like to her eye. You know what's funny is in the first one, when it mentioned to die, it spelled it DYE, but this one
Right.
it's
Yeah.
DIE. Do you think that was a misprint?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the whole point on using this little thing here is to have a play on words.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's probably a misprint, but brilliant, durable, economical. But yeah,
Again, what does this have to do with shooting this woman? And how does this connect to the other one where they're going to Ohio or Utah? Like, there's more to this story that we don't know.
Well, and we've got the diamond package dies never deceive.
Like, what? You're like, I thought I was dyeing my pants black. I dyed them pink. Oh, like what? I'm guessing it's like maybe some of the dyes were not color fast or they ran,
Maybe.
I suppose. Yeah.
This is just one of those super duper generic. This particular one I see often.
I
But
like
it's
this
just
one. I think
cute
this
and
is pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Little,
and classic.
a little thistle or whatever that thing is. The sorrel. Wood
Mm-hmm.
sorrel? I think it's wood sorrel. And
Yeah.
and the
Daisies. We got a couple
yeah.
buggies.
What
Just a
does
nice little.
ONT stand for? I know I've heard before and I cannot remember. The T is
Oh my
thread,
God.
right? But what is the ON?
Oh my God. I'm having a
Feel like
total brain fart.
I feel like
Where are
Anne
the
might know.
Where are the Googler people? I'm having a total brain fart.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know I've heard it, but
Somebody use the Googler. Here's another one. Oh, this one also spelled die, D-I-E. Now we're fighting over this clown man.
I feel like this one goes in between the one where they're like, go to Utah, then this one, then I'm gonna have to kill you. I think
I'm dying. Do not fail to use the diamond package dyes. They are unrivaled for simplicity of use and beauty of color. But this guy's in all white.
so. Druid found it, and she says it stands for Our New Thread. It was a trademark of Clark.
Oh. Okay. There you go. I really thought it was far deeper than that.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with like I don't know, the process. Like,
But clearly this series of cards here was made by a man, because there's no women fighting over this thing.
this little clown boy or whatever he is.
Yeah, like no one's fighting over you, dude.
These
Like,
two MILFs fighting over this ridiculous clown boy.
yeah, like no, they're not. I thought this one was just cute and pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it has really next to nothing to do with thread. It's just like, oh my God, winter scene thread. That's why these are so entertaining to collect, y'all.
Yeah, they really are. They're very interesting. So
Now
India,
here,
okay.
here is a picture we never get to see. This is how men sew in India. They all just gather around and stand still.
And see, I don't think this is how men sew in India, because all of the videos I've seen, like even fairly recently, I mean, depending unless they're in some kind of like very formalized workshop, if they were doing like piecework from their home, they're literally squatting on the floor with a hand crank.
Yep.
So yeah, there is nothing about this that's accurate.
When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, banging Saturday night, guys. Like,
gather around the machine.
yeah, they're like, everyone, let's have a beer. I'm going to sit at this machine. Stand here. Like,
they're all like, they're like, hey,
I
babe.
think that's one reason I like these, is I like to make up narratives for them.
Yeah. The guys are like, hey, babe, I'm going over to Ravi's house tonight. I got to take the beer. You know, gonna fire up the machine.
Yep. This one's really cool. So it doesn't have to do necessarily with like sewing and stuff per se. It's a clother, hatter, and furnisher. So they obviously sell fabric, but the reason that I love it so much is because it's a crazy quilt motif.
I know. I think this one might have been my favorite of the ones you showed me.
Yeah. And again, Springfield, Massachusetts is the western part of Massachusetts, and Springfield is the biggest city in western Massachusetts.
Okay.
So in terms of where I am and in terms of where western Massachusetts is, it's almost like it's a totally different state. And it takes
well, yeah.
I feel like it takes almost 2 hours to get there from here.
I feel like all of the East Coast states that have a western, like Western Maryland, might as well be another state, because it's very disconnected from Central Maryland. Same thing with Pennsylvania, New York. Like,
I would say that Western Massachusetts reminds me of Pennsylvania, just with just the more mountainous parts of Pennsylvania, because Western Mass does have some mountains. We got this guy. He looks very unimpressed with the way that the thread is floating.
yes.
He's like, we've got, this looks, I don't know for sure, but this looks like it could be like the Taj Mahal in the back here. But he's just like, your thread does not impress me.
Well, with that fez, he might be Turkish.
He could be. Well, so if he's Turkish, this could actually be the highest Sophia.
Yeah, the crescent and the star, I think, is Turkish. I could be wrong, though. Istanbul. Yeah, Word Murder says Istanbul.
Yeah, that would be the Hagia Sophia then. I know that from art history courses.
Maybe if he's questioning if there's a dwarf in that spool. Is there somebody
Anyway,
under? Is there a tiny person under that spool, like just holding it?
It could
bobbing
be, but
around?
like his eyes could not be any less impressed. Like he is judging that spool.
Yeah, he's like the spools, throwing the spools overboard.
And I also don't like how this implies that there's something better underneath this picture.
But you know, with the info that Word Bernard found about you know, collecting them, I almost feel like that's what that's implying. Like,
oh, that there's another in the set.
There's more of these. Yeah.
Maybe. Here's these guys again. But see, this one we spell well. So this one is both D-I-E and D-Y-E. Farewell, false one. Here I die. Take this and live to die.
So is this after she's threatened her with a gun? I feel like it is.
Well, no. Well, yes. Well, she threatened her and herself, but I guess she's won the little stupid boy. And we have all your lives die only with the diamond package dies. They are always true to their colors. So
the thing that she's holding, I noticed. I think that was down around the other woman's feet in the other card. I'm wondering, is that supposed to be like a ring or something?
It's a life preserver. It says right on it.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
No. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, because there's water here. Like she's jumping into water.
Well, what does that have to do with I'm gonna kill you because I want this man? I don't understand.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, like even look at the way he's just like hanging here. Like I don't want a guy whose shoes are fancier than mine. Like with his like clown outfit.
It seems to me that the three of them are dressed for different eras. Like he's very like Louis the 14th, and well, I guess the lady.
Well, I feel like she's very like Martha Washington.
Yeah, I think he
and this one looks like maybe she's going out for a stripper blanket later. Like
yeah, she's looking a little. Yes, she is looking a little bit more like I don't know. So Quilt just says he's Pierrot. Whatever that clown dude is. I can never say that right. Perot. Is it Perot that it's pronounced like? Yeah. Yes, I do see that he's the clown guy.
Well, that's just it. He's a booby. Like, ladies, what are you doing? Shove him in the water and go out to brunch. Like, so I got the back of this one.
Oh, the list of colors. What are the colors?
The cheapest and best. We've got yellow, orange, light blue, Bismarck, dark blue, dark green. I don't know how to say that pink.
I can't see it. EOC.
Okay. Scarlet, green, brown, navy, seal brown, purple, violet, plum, maroon, crimson, cardinal red, black, garnet, magenta, slate, drab, and old gold. Oh my God. What color was drab? I feel like now drab is a concept, not a color.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would assume drab is kind of like a tannish, greenish, like olive drab. Yeah, that's what Word Bernard says. Olive drab.
Oh, like
olive.
I was gonna say, isn't there a fish that's that color? A drab fish? I feel like maybe. I don't know. But this is Rockland, Maine.
And Belgian, do you mean Perot? I don't know. I thought Perot was French, but the Belgians are kind of French too. I don't know.
Then we have this, which, like, so we go from, like, the house is gonna burn down, everyone's a psychopath, and then, like, to, like, a nice baby, and then, like, what, like, that other daughter is just dead? Like, I don't...
Well, she's certainly not standing there holding her head.
Yeah,
and is the dog even different?
I shall exchange this noisy, hard-running old machine for a new home, which all my friends recommend. How quietly it runs. It is really a pleasure to sew since I bought the light-running new home. And you know what's funny?
It doesn't even look like the same dog.
I mean, this one's clearly feral.
Quilter
And
says eosine is a red fluorescent dye.
oh, okay. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
But yeah, this one's cute. Orange Mass and Union Square, New York. Levitt and Brandt out of Boston. Oh, this is the last one of the cards. This thing is super creepy. And why is the thread like it's meant to probably look like a rattle, but instead it looks like a gavel.
You know,
Like, is the baby just gonna like
the only thing I think of when I see this, and I it's because I saw it the other day, was in Suicide Squad when Harley Quinn has that giant mallet that says like, no, Daddy's Little Monsters on her t-shirt. I can't remember what the mallet. It's like one of those mallets that you'd hit the thing like at a fair, you know, and it goes ding, like that thing, the strongman mallet. But she carries it around and beats people with it. That's what that looks like to me, is that mallet. So creepy. So creepy. Yeah.
There's still an argument going on about the clown's name.
Yeah. Okay, 17th century Italian clown. Okay. Yes, that's yeah. Yes.
Sure. I know nothing about it, so I'm just going to say yes.
That's why I was like, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, because I feel like when I'm saying it, it sounds like I'm saying Poirot, which is the Agatha Christie guy. That's Inspector Poirot from, the Agatha Christie books, the Murder on the Orient Express. Mm-hmm. It's not spelled the same, so.
This was the back of that one thing. Most of them often look like this, but I wanted to show the back of at least like one of them. But I also have a couple of pictures. Oh, I did also buy this like little box of tomato pincushions and emeries. This one here is
the little square one.
Tomato emery. So I thought that was, and I really like this tomato pincushion with the emery because I really like the top of it.
Mm-hmm. They put the pins in there.
But I also put in some pictures of a few things I didn't buy. So here's a leg. And it's funny because like the last few legs that I've either bought or shown off or something like that have been just like leg pincushions. This one is like a thread book, like a needle book.
Oh, so the top of it.
Yeah, the top like where her stocking would be like opens up.
Now that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then this cute little guy in the back here.
Yeah, when you sent me that picture when you were shopping, and I was like, "Aw, how cute!" It's like a sort of an egg cup kind of. Mm-hmm. There's a contemporary artist, Deborah Fisher, that makes pincushions that are they look like egg cups, and then the top is the pincushion, the hair.
Mm-hmm. This thing was interesting. It's like a sewing girl. They're calling it a doll. I'm wondering if like she like the flap opens up and it's like a needle book. Mm-hmm. But then like her hair type thing is a tape measure.
Yeah, I could see those little bone rings that they used in that type of sewing craft. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of information on how to properly pronounce Pierrot, yeah, okay, versus Poirot.
So then here's a bunch of goodies. So like here was the piece I bought right here. But then there's, let's see, we got Bakelite, we got tatting shuttles. Here's a tape measure here. Here's a piggy tape measure. Oh
yeah, I have that piggy.
Here's a house.
That one's really cute.
Here's one of those like spool covers. This is a sweetgrass sewing basket over here. This tape measure I didn't get a really good picture of, but it's kind of creepy because it's like this just like guy like sitting on top of it, and it was super heavy. But
yeah, when I see these displays in antique stores, I just want to like open it and then like have my purse open and just go whoop. Just run away because it's all so fabulous, like all of these little tiny things.
The woman working, I was waiting for her for a while because she was on the phone, and finally I went to go interrupt her, because I needed to see something in this case that was below that I'm going to show. She came over, still on the phone, opened the case, and walked away. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of trust.
Yeah, there's something trustworthy about you. You don't look like that guy that like picks up the stuff and like puts it in the back of your pants and then puts it back.
Oh, that guy? Yeah, that like wipes his bum with it and puts it back. Well, I mean, the good thing is I'm not like you, and I don't talk about how if someone opened the case for me that I just shove all the stuff in my purse and walk away. But this is what I was waiting to look at. I did not buy this. But I really liked these little spools right here and stuff like that.
That's very cute. That it reminds me a lot of that one we looked at before that just had all of the little things that opened up.
It was a little more beat up when I took it out and really looked at it, so I didn't, for the price, I didn't end up going with it. And then there's this cute like scissor case here. And I think, yep, that's the end.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yep, that is the end. Wow, yeah, we really were like right on the mark this time, which is good because I have to go to the post office and they close at 4:30.
Yeah, and I have to do some things because we've got a committee meeting tonight.
Yeah.
So, well, that was perfect. Well, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, and, thanks. I got to judge people. It was nice. Pinwheel.
It's hard, it's hard to find the ones that are like really, quilty, crafty, really art related. But they do pop up periodically because people are just kind of awful and they do things, and so I always think they're interesting to read. I read Reddit stuff quite frequently. I read them so much that they now just pop up on my my Google News feed because other people republish them. So like I think sometimes People Magazine does them. I mean, they're like, if you haven't run across Am I the A-hole outside of Reddit,
it's the news kind of like Aunt Agatha type columns,
Oh yeah, and I read those too. Miss Manners, Dear Abby, Ask Eric. That's everything that my feed is full of. So. Well, thank you guys. Marianne, I'm so glad that we could be obnoxious clowns for you today. That's what this stream is all about. I like to educate. I also like to make people laugh because you know what? We need it sometimes. So, you guys have a wonderful week. Remember, I am not going to be here on Thursday. So no stream this coming Thursday. Jill and I will be here tomorrow night on YouTube. And then, of course, over the weekend is Winter Seminar. So this channel, I'll be back on Monday. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.